Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the game-changing ideas from Chapter 1 of Never Split the Difference by former FBI negotiator Chris Voss. We're going to see how a series of real-world crises forced the FBI to literally throw out the old rulebook and create a totally new way of thinking about how we talk to each other. So, imagine you're the FBI's top guy for international kidnapping. You hear those words and your blood runs cold. But here's the twist. The person on the other end of the line isn't a terrorist. It's a professor at Harvard Law School. You've just walked into a surprise pop quiz, and this is exactly what happened to Chris Voss.
And this was no friendly little game. This was a full-on showdown. You had Voss, with all his years of street smarts and real-world FBI experience, going up against the most elite, most respected negotiation theorists on the entire planet.
Now, Voss didn't argue. He didn't make a counteroffer. He didn't even say no. He just calmly asked this one simple, open-ended question. And that single move completely flipped the script. All of a sudden, the burden of figuring out the how was no longer on the victim's dad, it was on the kidnappers.
You can just picture it, right? These brilliant professors, armed with all their logical tactics and game theory, they were totally stumped. Their entire rational playbook had no answer for this kind of emotionally intelligent move. And they had to admit, maybe, just maybe, this former street cop had something to teach Harvard.
So, what was this old-school approach that Voss just dismantled so easily? Well, for decades, the world of negotiation was dominated by one book, a legend that actually came out of Harvard itself, Getting to Yes.
You see, the old school, the getting to yes school, taught that every negotiation was basically a rational problem you could solve, like a math equation. The trick was to separate the person from the problem and use logic to find a win-win. But what the FBI was learning in the field was the complete opposite. The person is the problem. Negotiation isn't a spreadsheet, it's a messy, emotional reality you have to navigate.
And look, the FBI didn't just dream this up in a classroom. They were forced, kicking and screaming, to change their entire philosophy. Why? Because a series of tragic, high-profile disasters showed them that their old methods weren't just wrong, they were deadly.
Events like the Attica prison riots, the disastrous siege at Ruby Ridge, and of course, the fatal standoff in Waco, Texas, these weren't just headlines. They were brutal, painful lessons. They proved that trying to find a logical win-win solution with people who are in a deep emotional crisis or who literally think they're the Messiah, well, that's a recipe for absolute failure.
And that's when the light bulb went off. The realization was crystal clear. You cannot use rational tools on people who are not acting rationally. That single idea sparked a revolution inside the Bureau. They knew they had to stop looking at economics and game theory and start diving headfirst into the world of practical, applied psychology.
So this forced the FBI to build a whole new system from the ground up, and they based it on the work of psychologists like Daniel Kahneman, a guy who won a Nobel Prize for proving something pretty fundamental, that all of us, at our core, are irrational, emotionally driven animals.
Kahneman's big idea is that our brain kind of has two settings. There's System 1, which is your fast, gut reaction, animal mind. Then there's System 2, your slow, careful, rational mind. But here's the key insight. Our emotional System 1 is always the hidden spring that feeds the river of our so-called rational System 2 thoughts. The feeling comes first.
So the FBI's new secret weapon became what Voss calls tactical empathy. Now this is crucial. It's not about agreeing with someone. It's not about liking them. It's about deeply understanding their perspective, their feelings, what's driving them, so you can see the world through their eyes for a moment. The way this works is actually pretty brilliant. It starts with a basic human need. Everyone wants to feel understood. So, when you listen, I mean really listen, you show them you get it. That demonstration of empathy builds rapport and trust. And that trust, well, that's the gateway to real, actual influence. You make them feel heard, and suddenly, they're willing to hear you.
All right, so with this powerful new toolkit, Voss heads back to Harvard. But this time, he's not some intimidated guest. He's a student in their fancy negotiation course, and he's ready to put these street-tested skills to the ultimate test.
So his opponent, this incredibly smart student named Andy, builds these perfect, airtight, logical arguments. He's setting these inescapable logic traps. And Voss, he doesn't even try to play that game. He just calmly, patiently wears him down by asking those simple, passive-aggressive questions like, how am I supposed to do that?
The result was, well, it was staggering. Andy's goal was to hang on to at least 25% of his funds, but by the end, Voss hadn't just gotten a good deal. He got every single penny Andy had. The emotional approach completely dismantled the purely rational one. And the craziest part? Andy didn't even realize he was losing until his pockets were empty.
Okay, so getting the better of kidnappers, outsmarting Harvard law students. What in the world does this have to do with your life? Well, here's the big secret Voss lets us in on. Pretty much every part of your life is a negotiation. I mean, really think about it. Asking for a raise, getting a fair price on a car, trying to convince your kid that 9 p.m. is in fact bedtime, even just deciding where to go for dinner with your partner. All of these are negotiations. Your success in your career, your finances, your relationships, it all comes down to how well you can communicate. And this idea just changes everything. Negotiation isn't about conflict. It's not about beating someone down. It's simply about communication that actually gets you somewhere. It's the essential skill for getting what you want from and with other people in this emotional game we call life.
So that's our look at the new rules of negotiation. The biggest takeaway here is that by understanding the hidden emotions behind every decision, you can fundamentally change the outcome of every conversation you have. It all boils down to a final thought. In life, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. So, are you asking correctly?